All right. I'm Peter Alessandria, and for the next 90 minutes, I invite you to be bigger than you think you are. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Let's check our agenda for this evening. All right, so we're going to start as usual with some announcements. Then we're going to do our affirmation of the day. Then we're going to do some introductions and victories. Then we have a recommended reading for tonight, followed by our special guest speaker, Karina, who's here. Then we're going to take a break at about 8:15 or so. We'll come back and work on a group process and do some Q&A, and then we'll wrap everything up by 9 o'clock. A reminder, today's workshop is being recorded and will be available on the BeBiggerToday.com website and YouTube channel within the next 48 hours. Please feel free to stop your video and mute your microphone if you do not wish to be seen or heard on the recording. So my book, Be Bigger Than You Think You Are, first edition, author-signed paperback. I only have a few copies left. I'm almost finishing the second edition. So if you would like to purchase a copy, you can use the discount code WORKSHOP20 at checkout at BeBiggerToday.com/book, and I will sign that book for you. And that book comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. If you don't love it, just let me know and I'll send you your money back. But I know you're going to love it. And while you're there, check out my New York City photo book, New York City Scapes. This is a collaboration between myself and 6 other New York City area photographers. This is our unique take on the New York City skyline, landmarks, and everything that makes the Big Apple great. What I love about this book is that you have the same landmarks and skyline that have been photographed by 7 different photographers, and we all have a unique take on what makes the Big Apple so great. So you get a copy, again, at my website, BeBiggerToday.com/bookstore. It's on sale for $16.95, and I will sign that for you as well. And I am working on the audiobook for Be Bigger Than You Think You Are. This is the second edition. It is available for pre-order at $9.99. It's going to actually be close to 10 hours. And it also comes with a money-back guarantee. So if you don't love it, just let me know. I'll send you your money back. And I know you're going to love it at BeBiggerToday.com/bookstore. And while you're there, check out our merch, hats and t-shirts. Save 20% with the discount code MERCH20 at checkout at BeBiggerToday.com/merch. And you can also find my original art and photography there. These are all professionally framed, signed, limited edition prints of my original landscape, cityscape, and abstract images. And here's a little commercial for you guys. Peter's photos and abstract designs are uniquely beautiful, one-of-a-kind works of art. These gallery-wrapped canvas prints are set in a contemporary shadow box floating frame and will enhance the beauty of any home or office. Available in 4 different sizes, each piece is professionally framed and comes complete and ready to hang. Frames are available in your choice of black, white, or brown, and each is signed by the artist. Peter's original art and photography will make a great gift for a client, for yourself, or someone you love. Order yours today. And check out my NYC refrigerator magnets. These are top quality, New York City. These are my original photographs on refrigerator magnets. Now, I'm not just shilling the bling here. These are actually the story behind these refrigerator magnets, and my entire line of New York City souvenirs is found in Chapter 7 of my book, where I talk about forgiveness. So these are actually the forgiveness refrigerator magnets. And if you're interested in finding out more about that story, it's in Chapter 7, and it's also, you can find a link on my homepage of my website that talks more about forgiveness and how these refrigerator magnets and other New York City souvenirs came about. And I'm available for one-on-one coaching and or corporate consulting. So if you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you're a photographer, a creative person, I can work with you one-on-one. Or if you have a business and you'd like me to come in and speak to your sales team, your management team, on how they can be bigger than they think they are, reach out to me through the website and we'll set it up at BeBiggerToday.com. And my most recent podcast is available. This is the Fit for Joy podcast, which is actually how I found out about Karina and her work. And this came out a couple of weeks ago. You could check it out. There's a link on the homepage of my website at bebiggertoday.com. Look for this photo, click on it, it'll take you to that podcast. And finally, I am accepting donations. I'm looking for support to continue to offer the workshop at no charge and keep it open to everyone. Suggested donation is $5 per week or $20 per month. You can send your donation directly to me at paypal.me/Peter Alessandria. And thank you so much for your support. All right, so let's jump into the workshop tonight with our affirmations of the day. So, first one, I approve of myself. I value myself. I love myself. Now, these will be, these affirmations will fit in with our discussion later tonight when Karina talks to us all. But I wanted to give us something to begin the evening off with. And as you know, I'm a big proponent in affirmations. I'm a big proponent in reprogramming the negative thoughts and beliefs that for many of us run our lives. And so as I always say, we start with thoughts. Our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our words and actions, and our words and actions lead to the outcomes that we experience in life. So if I start with negative thoughts, I'm going to have negative feelings, negative words and actions, negative outcomes. So the value for me of affirmations is that we begin to reprogram those negative thoughts and beliefs that many of us carry around about ourselves. But beyond that, if you listen to somebody like Tony Robbins or any kind of motivational or inspirational speaker, they'll always talk about the value of changing our state. All right? So it's very hard to have a successful life if I'm walking around feeling sorry for myself all day, or if I'm walking around feeling like I'm not good enough, or if I'm walking around with thoughts in my head that says nobody's going to like me or this is never going to work out. So what we want to do is use affirmations to begin to change our state. Positive thoughts lead to positive feelings. All right? Feelings are emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. So as we begin to change our emotional state, so our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to words and actions. Positive emotions, positive words and actions, positive outcomes. So this is not about sitting around saying positive affirmations and then just having stuff magically appear in our lives. The point is to change our state so then we begin to take positive actions to create the life that we want. So for me, that's the value of affirmations. Now, what I want to do is take a look at these a little closer. So I approve of myself. Well, what's the definition of the word approve? To have or express a favorable opinion of something or to accept as satisfactory. So what that means is if I approve of myself, that means that I walk around all day expressing or harboring a favorable opinion of myself. It means that I see myself as satisfactory. Now that may be easy for you guys, but for most of my life I've walked around with an opinion of myself that was not so favorable. And I walked around with a view of myself that says I'm not satisfactory, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, they're not going to like me. So when I say I approve of myself, I consciously and deliberately entertain thoughts that say, I am good enough, I am satisfactory, I have a favorable opinion of myself, and I express that to other people. When somebody compliments me, I say, thank you. Thanks for saying something nice. I appreciate that. I express through my words and actions that I see myself as a satisfactory, worthwhile person. All right? To value myself, I value myself. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about what it means to value something. And I said, if you want to know what you value in life, look at where you spend your time and where you spend your money. Both of those are indicators of value. Now, the definition of the word value is to regard something highly, to recognize the importance, worth, or usefulness of something, and one's judgment of what is important in life. So if I apply that to myself and I say I value myself, that means I regard myself highly. I recognize my own importance, worth, usefulness, and value in the world. And I judge my life as important. Now again, that may not seem like a lot to you guys, but for me, most of my life, I regarded other people more highly than I regarded myself. I saw other people of more importance, value, and worth than me. And I judged other people and their lives and what they were doing with their lives more important than what I was doing. So how did that leave me? That left me in not good enough, valuing somebody else's life more than my own. And the way that played out a lot for me was I would value other people's opinion of me more than I valued my own opinion of myself. And so that meant I was always trying to get approval from other people. I was always trying to please them. I was always trying to get them to like me, because that meant if they liked me, that must mean I'm okay. But I didn't know that I could decide for myself that I'm okay. I didn't know that my opinion of me was more important than anybody else's opinion of me. All right? And then I love myself. Love is defined as an intense feeling of deep affection or a great interest or pleasure in something. Now, what I always say, we talked about this in my book in chapter 4 a lot, I say love is not a feeling. Affection is a feeling. Warm personal regard is a feeling. Joy is a feeling. I say love is a decision. Love is a choice that I have to make. And the test that I use for unconditional love is how much I love myself when I least like who I'm being. How I treat myself when I don't show up the way I think I'm supposed to show up, when I don't look the way I think I'm supposed to look, when I don't say the things I think I'm supposed to say, when I don't do the things I think I'm supposed to do. How do I treat myself on those days? Because it's really easy to love myself when I'm doing all the things I think I'm supposed to do. It's really easy to love myself when I'm, showing up in the world the way I think I'm supposed to be doing that. But a much better test is, how do I treat myself on the days when I'm struggling? How do I treat myself on the days when I don't feel so good about myself? How do I treat myself on the days when I just blow off the stuff that I need to get done and I'm farting around on YouTube for 4 hours? How do I treat myself on those days? So I say, yes, obviously, love is an intense feeling of affection, but it's helpful for me to look at love as a decision, as a choice. It's not just something that happens to me when the stars align. It's something that I consciously and deliberately choose. Now, we talked about this again in chapter 3. We said that a choice, so we said that power is, the way I define power, true power, is the ability to consciously choose and or change our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. And then I said true power is when we make a choice to feel a certain way, to think a certain way, to speak or act a certain way, irrespective of what's going on around us. We're making choices and decisions about what to think, feel, say, and do based on our internal reference of who we want to be in that situation, not what's happening outside of us, not what they're doing or not doing, what the economy is doing or not doing, what my business is doing or not doing. I don't make my choices and decisions about how I feel about myself, about how I feel in general, based on what's happening outside of me. True power is when I make those choices based on what's happening inside, based on who I want to be in that situation. So making a decision, making a choice to express love, and we talked about this again in chapter 4, the opposite of love is fear. So we're operating on this spectrum every day throughout our lives, oscillating between love and fear. And I say, for me at least, I can't wait around for the stars to align. I can't wait for somebody else to act the way I think they're supposed to act so I can feel good, so I can love them, so I can appreciate them. And the same thing about myself. Now, we talked about, we need to have boundaries. We need to be able to take care of ourselves and our relations with other people. But the way I feel about them is not determined by who or what they're being in that moment. It's determined by who or what I'm being in this moment. And I get to choose that. In fact, we're always choosing that. Most of my life, I blamed other people for how I felt. And I say, no, 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 that's not taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is when I own all my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. And then true power is when I consciously and deliberately choose to respond in a way that represents who I want to be in that situation, not who I think somebody else is being. And the bottom line is nobody makes me feel anything. Nobody makes me feel valuable, worthy, important. Nobody makes me feel loved. I choose those things for myself. All right. So let us move on. This is the portion of the workshop where people get to introduce themselves. If they're new, you can say hello, let us know who you are, where you're from, or somebody who wants to share a victory or celebration from the last week. This is an opportunity for you guys to speak up and say hi. So just unmute yourself and take it away. Barbara?
Yeah, hi Peter, how are you?
Good.
No real victory, but I know we talked about it. And, you know, I'm progressing. After I spoke to you, Jennifer did get in touch with me and recognized that I needed more help. So, you know, she said next Sunday, bring the computer over, they'll work with me, they'll give me more time. So that was a good thing. And I think what was it, the link or whatever you sent me, I explained that to her and Richie will work with that. And, you know, I did speak to the super. He said he had somebody in mind. So after I get the computer set up, I'm sure somebody will come here and work it out. So, but I appreciate what you said. You know, once I was talking about it, you said, you know, things will work out. It's just a process. So, you know, I don't want to put it down that there's no victory, but the victory is that I keep on moving forward.
Keep on moving forward, and you ask for help. I think
Yes.
it's great.
No,
right,
we'll
great.
see what happens. Okay.
Good. Good job, Barb. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll say hello. Hi, I'm Michael Hsieh. I'm new.
Hey, Michael.
I'm here to really support my daughter, Karina. I'm so proud of her writing and putting her love and message out into the world. And I'm really looking forward to this workshop. I live in Oakland, and it's a beautiful day here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. So glad Karina's here. Thank you. Anybody else want to say hi? Share a victory?
It's Judy. I just wanted to say hi. And I don't know about victories, but I'm getting ready for Passover. So I want to listen. But I've been on the road the past few weeks because of helping my daughter who's moving when you've had your program. So I've been trying to zoom in the car, but it's difficult to talk and, I'm just doing my best. So I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate that you're here and I'm glad that I'm here and looking forward to your guests too.
Great. All right. Thank you, Judy. Glad you're here too. Anybody else? Okay. So as I was saying, as you guys know, we have a special program tonight. We have Karina Hsieh. She's come to share her story and talk about her book, read some of her poetry. She's going to lead us through, she's going to lead us through a process, I think, after the break. But in the first half, she's going to talk, maybe do a little reading from the book and then talk more about her story. So I will introduce her. Karina is a poet and author, publishing the book Loving Yourself into Being last spring. She studied psychology at Harvard and worked in Silicon Valley as a happiness engineer before backpacking solo around the world for 1.5 years to cultivate her own self-love and compassion. She craves exponential growth, that sounds awesome, and perpetually follows love, especially self-love, as her North Star. When she's not writing, you can find her dancing, singing, traveling, teaching fitness classes, or unmasking miracles hidden in plain sight. So everybody, please extend a warm welcome to our special guest tonight, Karina Hsieh. Take it away, Karina.
Thanks so much, Peter. It's nice to meet you all. Hello from sunny California. Thank you so much for having me today. It is really a pleasure to be here. And I thought I would share a bit, if I can share my screen with you. I'm going to show you. I have a little PowerPoint. If you can see that, okay?
Yep.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to, over this next hour, I'm going to share a bit with you about my self-love journey from being a happiness engineer to backpacking solo around the world for a year and a half. We'll be doing a poetry reading with you to deepen your connection with yourself, lead you through a few guided self-love exercises that I do that will hopefully also help you cultivate your self-love. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. Okay, so what is self-love? The Oxford Dictionary says self-love is the regard for one's own well-being and happiness, chiefly considered as a desirable rather than narcissistic characteristic. For myself, I think of self-love as a process of rediscovering ourselves as what we were from the beginning. One of my poems is We Are Whole, and I thought it was a great way of describing the self-love process. We are whole, complete and perfect, just the way we are. We are David in a slab of marble, having caked on mud around ourselves until we think we're a block of mud, not a perfectly polished, priceless piece. We think we're unworthy, broken, commonplace, dirt. But we must chisel away everything that isn't us, stories and beliefs we had conjured up out of fear, until all that is left is us, as we have always been, whole, complete, and perfect, perfectly and utterly love, inside and out. For me, these self-love practices are a chiseling technique that we use to get back to our loving center. I think of love as energy, and we usually send it out to others, but we don't finish the circuit. We get really exhausted because we're constantly sending this energy or this love out. But since we can't replenish ourselves, we get depleted. So self-love completes this circuit, allowing our energy to reflow through us, go back out to others and reconnect. And thus self-love is the foundation of all other loves. So for my journey, I'm going to share this with you now. So I was born and raised in Oakland to a really loving Asian or Chinese American family. As Peter said, I was a psychology major at Harvard and then went into tech as a happiness engineer at a startup called Inflection. And as a happiness engineer, I was cultivating company culture by planning events, bringing in speakers, building our health and wellness program, and leading college recruiting. And while I love my job, I knew that I wanted to travel the world. And if I never set a date, it would never happen. And one thing I like to do is I like to face my fears for maximum growth. And I had this fear of traveling solo because I thought it was too dangerous as a woman. And because this was something that I was afraid of, I knew that I needed to challenge my assumptions and follow this direction. And know that I could not only survive, but thrive anywhere. And so I'm going to clarify that I don't head towards any fear, but it's a fear that is tinged with excitement, something around the edges where I know that I want to head in that direction to grow. So I gave my company 9 months notice and then went backpacking solo for a year and a half. And the greatest impetus for my travel was actually because I didn't think I was lovable or deserved love. At 24, I'm not sure why I had this feeling, but I felt like there was this hole inside of myself and that I was somehow broken. And even though I came from a really loving family and had deeply caring friends, I felt like there was something missing and I really needed to figure out how to love myself and be compassionate towards myself. Because if I didn't love myself, I couldn't truly love others. Thus, I went on my backpacking journey so that I could become my own best friend. I first went to Bali, and that first week I thought I would love it because I'm in paradise. Everyone loves Bali. But I went there and I forced myself to be alone because I'm an extrovert. I love meeting new people. But I realized I was using people as a numbing agent so that I didn't have to sit with my own self or feel everything fully. So I'm there alone in my room, crying, I'm crying devastated that I'm halfway across the world from everyone that I love. And I'm just miserable. I'm like, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I should just fly home. And I just like sat with myself, had to self-soothe and be like, it's okay. This is part of the process. This is why you're here. And over time, I got more comfortable being by myself. I would go to restaurants by myself, reflect, and just people watch, sit there with my own thoughts. And it got slowly better and more comfortable. So I did this for the first week or two, where I was just sitting by myself and forcing myself to self-soothe. And after I had that practice, I allowed myself to connect to others again, which was my happy place. And as a type A go-getter, I have always breathed planning. I love structure. And before backpacking, I'd had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and for, again, maximum growth, as I'm a growth sponge. I knew that I had to throw all of that planning out the window or actually, ironically, force myself to be spontaneous and go with the flow. So every day I would walk out the door and ask myself, do you want to turn right or left? And just trust the universe that I was going in the right direction. And by slowing down and not planning everything, I actually got to see such magical moments, miracles along the way that I wouldn't have seen if I had planned something. And this really allowed me to learn that you can't schedule magic. Another thing about throwing out my plans and just trusting my intuition or the universe was that this was expanding my comfort zone. And I call it expanding my comfort zone rather than stepping outside your comfort zone, because every step for me is growing your comfort zone. So by the end, you have this huge comfort zone to be in. And each day I was practicing loving myself. I've always had structure before. And some days when I was backpacking, I wouldn't have good food or a good exercise regimen. And I had to love myself exactly as I was. And as Peter said, I find that it's extra important to love myself on the days I don't feel my best. It's really easy to love ourselves when we feel good. The hard days are when we need to practice our self-love practices even more, because those days are when I in the past would have berated myself or felt like I'd regressed. But I needed to be extra gentle with myself and have kind self-talk. And I found that the in-between spaces while traveling, those where I really got to practice my self-love, like being on flights or dinners by myself or seeing sunsets or a beautiful view by myself. Those were the beingness that cultivated my self-love. And after backpacking 30 countries and 65 cities on 5 continents, I began working on this book about my travels. And then 2 years ago, poems started waking me up in the middle of the night. And they would flow out in about 10 or 15 minutes. And then I was trying to write both books in tandem, these poems and this travel book. But the poems came more and more frequently. And I knew I needed to get this book out there because it was so important about this self-love and compassion that we need in this world. So last Valentine's Day, I published my book, Loving Yourself into Being. And I call myself an accidental poet, as I never expected myself to be a writer or poet. I just felt called to write and share my self-love learnings with the world. Okay, so I thought I would read some poems to you, and hopefully they'll help you deepen your own self-love and help you remember some of the little miracles in life. And I'd like to make this a bit interactive. so that I can read you some poems. And then if you would like to have a reflection or a question about a poem, please chime in. Then we'll do a few interactive self-love exercises. So for me, poems are different than other writing forms, where you follow the narrator or author's story. In poetry, I found that there's no right answer, as you bring your life, your emotions and experiences to each poem. So however a poem makes you feel, or whatever arises within you is perfect. A poet may have his or her reason for writing a poem, but you bring your life to the poem so that it becomes yours. So I invite you to listen to these poems and make them your own. You can keep your eyes open or closed and sit in a comfortable place, and I hope you'll enjoy. Self-love earplugs. These two fluffy puffballs are for you to nestle into your glorious ears, to protect you from the static, the insidious buzz of gossip, vile words that sting your eardrums and pollute your heart. Collect yourself in your inner sanctuary, your spacious cavern fortified by peace, illuminated by laughter. Insert your earplugs anytime you want to mute the raging world, to dissolve completely into your own symphony of love. The next is the river of love. I stand knee-deep in the river of love, running my hands lovingly through the flowing rapids. What are you doing? Queries my curious companion, standing on the riverbank. I'm dancing in love. Why don't you come join me? Anyone who partakes is in love with me too. But I thought you could only love one person at a time, and you and I are just friends, so would that not be weird? Love is the river. It flows around us as long as we decide to wade in it. We can be in love with anyone and everyone. Most people only allow one person to join them in the river romantically. But the truth is that our capacity to love is infinite. All of our past lovers can choose to stay in love with us, even if our dynamic has changed. They don't have to return to shore. That is how I choose to love unconditionally, by staying in this river, to be in love with everyone. My friend ponders this for a moment, slips off his shoes, and frolics in love, too. So I don't know if any of you would like to share your thoughts currently. If so, you can raise your hand too. Anyone? If not, I can read some more too.
I want to share.
Sure, please.
Thank you so much. I came in late, but I came in just right on time. So thank you. I love, right? I love what I heard. I'm here in BBT for a specific reason. I'm courting the process of forgiveness, and I'm in love with the idea that the BBT training, chapter 6 and 7, will help me heal a cavern that I call forgiveness that needs to happen for me and in my life. And so I think the second poem made me think, it reminded me that, wow, there are some ideas that I have that I don't feel like I want to be in love with. And so I just ask you, when you look around and you maybe don't immediately feel love for an idea, a thought, a person, or an event, but you know that there's love there somewhere. How do you deal with that which is not love? And, when it would be more ideal for everything to feel, like the river of love. And then there's all this other stuff. I think you called it when you said turn off the noise of the world. I don't know what you said exactly, but it meant turn off the noise to be in the space of the symphony of love. So there's a question for you if you can find it. Thanks.
I think you can love something and let it go. You can acknowledge it, appreciate it, and say that thank you, this is not serving me right now. And that doesn't mean that you have to hold everything, because we can't as humans. We can love it, but acknowledge that it doesn't serve us right now. Does that help at all?
Yes, definitely. I'm going to go with that. Not everything. I don't need to love everything. I could just find my own river of love and symphony of love and stay with that, and just know that not everything will be a good fit for that. Thank you.
And you can love it and it's still not right for you, and that's fine.
Thanks for being here. And I especially love this idea of past relationships. Even though the form of it changes, the love never changes. At least for me, that's been my experience. So thanks for sharing that in your poem. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Great, then I'll share the next one. Let's get back here. Okay. Holding up the sky. I sat on the bank of a river, wearied from a long day of hiking. A black raven perched on a branch above me asked, "Hello, friend. Why are you so tired?" "I'm tired because I've been carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, so others can be freed from the burden. It's exhausting and lonely up here." "No wonder you're exhausted," mused the raven. "That isn't your job. Did you ever think that by shouldering the burden of humanity, you're making others small? You need to let them hold up the sky, and then it won't feel so lonely either." With those words, the weight melted off my shoulders as a lightness blossomed in my being. Yes, I need to let others hold up the sky too. And I'll read this one before opening it up to yin-yang bodies. Like yin and yang, we are part light, part dark. But our world trains us that our light is acceptable, only our light is acceptable, that we must shun our darkness to be loved. We leave our shadow side behind, locked up in a prison in ourselves, only loving half of us. But our darkness should not be feared or loathed. It builds bridges of compassion and empathy for others. By embracing our other half, we could become full, inspiring others to love all aspects of their stunning selves.
Oh, that's great, Karina. I really like that one. That reminds me of, there's a woman, her name is Debbie Ford. She wrote a book. She wrote a bunch of books on the shadow. One is called The Secret of the Shadow. One is called Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And in the whole book, all her books, her teachings were about learning to love the stuff that we hate about ourselves, learning to love the dark side of us, learning to love the stuff that we push away and say we judge it, that's not acceptable, and we're cutting off half of ourselves when we do that. Mm-hmm. So I totally get that. That's great. Thank you.
Hi. The first poem was really outstanding. I love the idea that you were tired and kind of finished for your day, and you looked around and you saw that raven, and it just blossomed into that whole conversation. And who else would have said something like that than a bird, I guess. And it's really amazing. It's really remarkable, and I really appreciate that. I mean, I'm sure I've had experiences like that. I'm sure everybody has. When you are finished and you just stop and you look around, you will see one thing that catches your attention. And those are the special things, the miracles. You have to be open to it, but they do come. So I thought that was just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay. This one's called Falling Up. Have you ever fallen up, catching yourself when you've hit rock bottom? Your heart lifts you off the ground, propelling you up onto your feet. Your anti-gravity, you just forgot you had wings. Falling up, it's what we call flying. I have something I call it in my poems visual designs, and this one is one of those. I like that poems can, if you have something visual, a poem can bypass your brain and land in your heart in a different way, so that you feel something that you can't if you're cognitively trying to dissect a poem. And so in this way, I like that this poem flows up rather than the normal way. Okay, this one is kneading. You knead the dough, driving your palm in and out like a jellyfish floating in the sapphire sea. Each thrust ripples the dough, cascading over your palm, melting back into itself. With each stroke, you expertly swivel the dough a notch clockwise. There's a certain rhythm to this ebb and flow of dough waves, in and out, over and back. Your kneading is consistent, just like you need consistency. In an ephemeral world, shape-shifting each second, dough rhythms remind you to slow down, to remember the quiet, delicious moments that heal your body and nourish your soul. There's such magic in the ordinary, transforming flour and water into bread. Cast your desires out into the world. Whatever you need, you can knead into life, birthing miracles with your open hands.
Karen, I really that last one, I love how you play with the word needing and needing, because whenever when I see the word need and needy, I always feel like that's such a kind of a negative emotion that, that I'm needing something, or I'm in a needy mood. But you shifted that into actually needing something to create and turn flour into bread. And, that's, I just love how you play with that word, and then the shift, the focus. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about.
Thank you. I like playing with words. It makes it much more fun.
Yeah.
Thanks. And if anyone else has anything they want to share?
Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I don't quite know how to raise my hand, so I'll do the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love the visual effect with the poems, the falling up, and the other one you showed with the yin yang. That just adds an extra element for me, where it is somehow, I don't really have the words to describe why, but somehow it makes it more impactful. It's just adding another layer of sensory input, I think, that it just brings the kind of the digestion to an even deeper level, and it captures my attention. And I think it's so imaginative how you planned some of those. So I will make a special request that in your future books to please continue that. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad those resonate with you. I think I have one last poem I'll read. Yes, this is one of my favorites. It's called Transit Sunset. The train doors open. I step onto the platform. Eyes transfixed. I blink. Is this a mirage? Before me is a fiery orange sunset, lighting up the sky, setting the city on fire. I watched this miraculous moment, one that seems ordinary enough, mundane even, as it happens every day like clockwork. But standing on this platform, I am caught in a little snow globe of peace, in my own little bubble, my own little world. I watch trains and cars pass by on either side, people in little metal boxes on a conveyor belt to their next checklist item. Like a drop of molasses plopped onto ice, time freezes for me, while it continues for the rest of the world, chugging along the tracks at its fast, normal, industrialized clip. I'm encapsulated in a hyphen, in between time, as other worlds glide by. I am stuck, rooted to the ground, mesmerized by nature's beauty, a silly smile plastered across my face. I can barely breathe. The world is on fire, and I'm the only one watching it burn. I watch as the glowing embers cool down, as the city rises from the ashes. What peace and joy exist in this world? What beauty to behold when one takes a moment to breathe in the whirlwind of our lives. Breathe in, breathe out. There is no other place to be than here, just here.
I got to say, I love that one. That's great. The world is on
Thank you.
fire and I'm the only one watching it burn. Wow. I relate as a photographer, and I do a lot of landscape photography. You know, it's capturing that moment, and you described it so beautifully. I mean, I've photographed so many sunsets, and every one of them has that quality when you really think about it. So, but I never put words to it like that. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that we can capture the magic in different elements, in different ways.
I like to add, thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you and your whole artistic expression. I've also had the experience of having the most healing, most nurturing, and most holistic kind of time in my life when I took a step back and just spent a lot of time with myself. I actually put a garden in my backyard, a 1,000-foot square garden, pretty much by hand, collected all the rocks. It was a deep meditation, and it helped launch me into this next aspect of my life. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
So Karina, we'll take our break now.
Great.
And then come back, and you have a process for us.
Yes.
Anybody else want to say anything before the break?
I have a quick question.
Just
You go, Russ.
okay. I just wanted to comment on that one because I had my first meditative experience while watching the sunset. And so this poem just brings me back to that moment, and it resonates so much with me. And I think that it's a wonderful reminder that that moment of presence can come in at any time during the day, no matter where you are. And even that meditative moment can come in no matter where you are. You could be watching a beautiful sunset, but it for me, it also means that it could happen while you're standing in line anywhere or looking at any beautiful color. So I love this poem, and I think I will keep it nearby.
Thank you for sharing. I think it's a great reminder of the miracles that are all around us if we just look, if we actually just look.
So I just had a question. Some of these poems I've read before and I've heard you read them, and they bring out different emotions in me. But I was wondering, how do you feel when you read these again as the creator of these poems?
That's a great question. I think I feel, I get transported back into the moment. And for this poem, I was standing at Rockridge BART. If you're not from the Bay Area, BART is like a subway. And I saw this moment and I was stunned by the sunset. everyone else was passing by. And I wanted to make sure I could capture it so someone else could feel exactly what I was feeling, because it was so magical. I wanted to remember it, and I felt selfish holding it to myself. So I was like, I need to write this down for other people too. And so when I read it again, I get moved back into the space where I can see the sunset and feel what I was feeling. And again, be in that magical miracle moment.
Thanks.
All right. So let's do this. So we're going to come back. So what we do now is we take a 5-minute break. And if you're new here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the song again. The song is called Love My Life by Robbie Williams. And this time you'll see the lyrics on screen. So I would encourage you guys to mute your microphones, but then sing along to the words as we go. It's very powerful affirmations, very powerful statements that have certainly helped me transform my life. So the only problem is if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, we can't play it on YouTube because of copyright issues. So you have to get the song either on Amazon Music, or ironically, you can actually find it on YouTube, and then sing along to the words that'll be on screen. Oh, and when we come back, this was our, just real quick, this was one of the things, maybe we'll get to this, maybe we won't, but the question was, how do you define self-love, and then how do you put that definition into practice? All right, so we're going to play the song, and then we'll see you guys back in 5 minutes. All right, so we are back. And I have to say, I love my life today, and I didn't always feel that way about it. So we're going to pick it up now. Karina's going to take us through a process or two, and then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A because I got a bunch of questions. So let's jump right back into it. Karina, you're up.
Okay, thanks again, Peter. So I actually incorporated a few exercises because I felt that these were really powerful for myself and I wanted to share them with you. So I'll share this screen again. Okay, this first one is a mirror exercise. So every morning I wake up and say to myself in the mirror, "Thank you, body, for being this miracle that you are. I love you. Thank you for helping me do everything every day. You are so beautiful, strong, loving, and magical. You are love. You house my soul. You are my home. I'm so grateful I get to wake up every morning as you." I wrap my arms around myself in a loving hug, loving and thanking my whole body. This way of being and thanking my body has revolutionized my relationship with myself and how I heal. In the past, I would criticize my body for being bigger here or there than I wanted it to be, berating myself for being a glutton or something. I was only loving parts of myself, the parts that matched my expectations of how I should look, not all of myself. So with this self-love practice, I now appreciate my soul's shelter, and I'm working to love all aspects of myself. Our own internal dialogue is crucial as that shapes how we see ourselves and others. How you speak to yourself and is so important. So what I request is if you can pin yourself. I haven't done this before on Zoom, but in this exercise, you can click on your own image. If you see your video, there's a little 3 dots. If you can pin your own video for a second. I want you to practice this with me and have this be something that you can practice daily if you would like. Okay, great. So I would like you to follow after me. Looking at yourself in the camera. I love you. I see you. I cherish you. From today onwards, I will appreciate and love you. Thank you for housing my soul and being the miracle that you are. Thank you for allowing me to experience everything I do in life. I love you. I love you. I love you.
That's such a great affirmation to just pin to the mirror in the morning. It's so fantastic. I want those words.
Happy to share, and I can send it to Peter too if you would like to put it, send it to your people.
Yeah, really powerful.
Yeah, I was just smiling the whole time.
That is something that I practice and has really transformed my relationship with myself.
Mm.
And I will share one more exercise before we go over to Q&A. This one I call the truth meter exercise. So I invite you to close your eyes and sit comfortably. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now, I want you to say something to yourself that is a lie. It could be anything. For example, I am a dog, or I am green. Whatever it is, something that is not true for you. Notice how that statement feels in your body. Breathe into it. Take a moment and just analyze your body and what you're feeling when you say that statement. For myself, I notice a contraction in my gut or belly, a tightening. Now shake everything out. Take another deep breath. Now exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Now tell yourself something that is true for yourself. It could be, I am, and your name. Now notice how your body feels with this statement. Breathe in. Exhale. When I say this true statement, I notice an expansion in my chest, an opening, an invitation. Now open your eyes. Did you feel anything different in your body with the two statements? If anyone would like to share.
Yes, I think, you said it, but when you say the lie, I guess, well, I didn't realize how much tenseness I had or the tenseness until I did the other. And then I said, I'm Barbara, and it was just totally different. So that's amazing. That's remarkable. So, and it's a little something, but it's a big thing too at the same time. Yes, I felt it.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Barbara. Thank you. For me, every time I practice that exercise, it gets a little easier to feel my truth. I can feel it in my body deeper, and I can even notice it for other people sometimes. If I can feel their truth, if it's what they're saying is a truth or a lie. And this is something you can cultivate in yourself just by practice as you tune into yourself.
I'm reminded of the kinesthesiologists or kinesthesiology, which is, the body knows.
Mm-hmm.
The body knows the truth. And by tuning into that, there are certain ways to, which is exactly what you were just describing, because sometimes I don't know how I feel about something or where I stand on a certain issue or what I should do or not do. So it's great to rely on something that we have with us all the time to be able to begin to make better choices and decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I talk a lot about that in my book, how to make effective choices. And what a better resource than our own body, our own intuition within our own body. It's great.
Thank you. And I actually had one piece of extra credit homework if anyone wanted to see this for yourself. We can get there. Okay. So I invite you to make a date with yourself. Carve out some time in your schedule this week to take yourself on a date. It could be in your own house, but it is for you. Whatever is for self-care, self-love for you. Do something fun where you're sitting with yourself for an hour or two. And I invite you to email me or a quick note of your experience and what it felt like for you, if you would like to share. And for me, taking time out just to be with myself was how I became my own best friend. And I hope that that can be something that will help you on your self-love journey. And back to you, Peter.
All right, great, wonderful. I love the idea of I actually took myself out on a date once. I bought myself flowers once. That's great. It brought back some memories. Haven't done that in a while. So yeah, if Karina, if you're up for it, if we can ask maybe people want to ask some questions. I know I have some questions. And we'll see what else comes. We have a few more minutes. Sometimes we go over time-wise, so it's up to people if they want to stay or not. But I want to ask you, so how is your life different? I mean, just, it doesn't have to be a whole long story, but just give some examples of how your life is different now than it was before you took your trip or, made your transition, you started going on this journey. So what are some of the biggest differences that you've noticed in yourself?
Great question. I think one of the biggest changes is that I feel really comfortable in my own skin. I love myself in a way that I didn't feel or didn't know I could. I thought it wouldn't be possible at the time before backpacking. And that I could sit with myself and be comfortable without anyone else around. That I can reflect and just be. I think we are human beings, but so much of the time we're human doings because we're all constantly on the go doing things. And after backpacking, I finally got to be a human being.
All right, awesome. And then let me ask you a follow-up. So how has this changed your relationship with other people?
I think I'm better at reflecting their own goodness back to them. If that makes sense, I can be a mirror and see their best self and help them see that in themselves. Before I wasn't comfortable seeing my best self in me, so I couldn't do that for anyone else. But now that I see my own goodness, I have that as a launching pad for someone else.
Great, good. I definitely understand that. And in terms of, for me, one of my big challenges was looking outside myself for a sense that I'm okay, looking outside myself for approval. My whole life, I just wanted somebody to tell me I was okay. But the reality was, even if they told me I was okay, I didn't feel okay. So I had to do the internal work that you're talking about. And I notice now that when I go to my relationships with other people, I'm less needy, I'm less controlling, I'm less, I don't make them responsible for my emotional well-being as much. And I recognize that it's not nobody else's job to make me feel okay about myself, which what it does is it takes a lot of pressure off the other person, because the other person feels that in the relationship, like somehow they have to esteem me because I can't esteem myself. So it certainly has helped a lot of my, it could be intimate romantic relationships, but it could also be a work situation. With a client, I'm not going to the client looking to get affirmation that I do a good job, that I'm a good photographer or whatever I'm doing. So it changes the whole dynamic. Great, thank you. Who else has a question for Karina?
Oh, I have a quick question. Hey, Karina.
Hi.
Hi. So your love poems, thank you so much for publishing them on Valentine's Day. Go you, girlfriend. Are you going to publish your travel book, or maybe you did and I missed that for being late? Sorry.
No, absolutely. Thanks for asking. I actually put that on hold, so that will be something I'm working on in the future. But I can definitely keep you posted when it does come out. Currently, it's my poetry book in paperback, ebook, and audiobook format.
Awesome. And lastly, I just love this idea that both your work and Peter's work were really inspired. And I don't want to use the word channeled, but I will say channeled, where you couldn't refuse the information. It was coming at you in such a strong and important way. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, so funny you mentioned this, but my process, again, I share that I'm an accidental poet, as I didn't ever expect to write. And I have what I call spirit guides. Some other people might call it inspiration or a genius or something. And for me, they are like this this cloud entity that I connect with. And I'm not a channel because I get to communicate with them and collaborate, but it's definitely something outside of me that is calling me to write, and it has told me that I am meant to share this book, share self-love out in the world, because it's so important. So I'm so lucky that I get to collaborate and be this vessel for these beautiful poems that I myself could never have written by myself, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. And keep it up, and thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Who else? Who else has some questions for Karina?
Okay, I have a question that's related to what Peter said about sometimes thinking that the stimulus is an external stimulus, that you're looking for external validation as opposed to internal. Karina helped me clarify something the other day, and I think I was talking about a radio metaphor, that in the morning, wake up, tune into some of the frequencies that most people don't hear, and tune into the radio station that's like K-Joy or K-Love. And you just listen to that all day and you're on the right frequency. And Karina, you said something really interesting about that. Do you want to expound? Because she totally reframed that for me.
Sure. Something about that didn't quite resonate with me. And what felt like my truth is that we are actually the radio. We dial ourselves to a frequency and then we can broadcast that out. Yes, we are able to dial into someone else's frequency, but that is not as powerful as if we are the radio and we dial our own self to the perfect level for ourselves, and that we get to share our level of joy and love with others.
So if you set your station on KJOY or KLUV and you just kind of broadcast that, it kind of magnetizes what else comes in for the
Other
day.
people can then dial into our radio station if they need, if they can't tune their own yet.
Yeah. So for me, that's like a metaphor now for self-love. So I should try to get that modulated.
Thank you for bringing that up. I hope that can resonate with others too. Yeah, Roz.
Have a favorite poem or one that is particularly dear to you, or does that change with what you're going through, and why is that particular one dear to you?
I think Self-Love Earplugs and Transit Sunsets are two of my favorites. One other one that's a favorite is Blooming, that I don't know if you can see here, but I'm going to pin myself for a second so you can see. This is Blooming. And so Blooming, a flower blossoms not for anyone else's pleasure, but because it was born to bloom.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Karina, where does the title of your book come from?
So it actually came to me from my guides. They told me that this book would be called Loving Yourself into Being. And it just felt and resonated so much, because I think it's a cyclical process of loving yourself into being, because you first need to be in the state of being to love yourself. And then as you're loving yourself, you love yourself into being, if that makes sense.
And what's next for you? What's in the future? Where are you going?
Well, currently it's sharing this book with the world. Next, I'm actually working on an exciting project. I just got out of a romantic partnership, and we had what I call a honeymoon, where we went to Hawaii for 2 weeks to really celebrate our relationship and transition to being friends. So we got to be together and just really resonate with each other, and then lovingly let go. So I'm right now cultivating and sharing this term, honeymoon, because I think it's a different way of thinking about love and breakups, where you don't have to cut off a part of your heart.
So M-O-U-R-N, honeymoon?
Honeymoon, rather than a honeymoon, it's a honeymoon. So that is the next chapter, and I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
Great. All right, anybody else have any questions for Karina? So Karina, what's the best way for people to reach you?
I'm sure. I actually put this here too. Thank you for asking. Best way you can reach me, email here, karayhsieh@gmail.com. My website, karinahsieh.com. You can find me on Instagram for my poetry or my personal. And you can find Loving Yourself into Being on Amazon in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. You can also find it on Audible. And if you want to reach out to me, you can contact me to get a signed copy.
All right, that's great. And any plans for your own workshops or your own?
Yeah, they're in the works. They're in the works. I'm figuring out next steps as we go, but I'll keep you in touch, keep you in the loop.
All right, great. Good. All right, anybody else want to have any questions, last minute questions? So I'm going to play the song one more time. This time it's 3.5 minutes. Again, listen to the words, people. I mean, this is just, let it sink in. And then we'll come back for our final goodbyes. All right, guys. So that's it for this week. Karina, thank you again so much for being here with us tonight. Loved it. And, we'll be in touch. If people have questions, they can reach out directly to Karina or to me. We're going to be starting in my book next week. We're going to be starting chapter 6. The title of that chapter is Would You Rather Be Right or Happy? And we're going to start by talking about the ego and the effect that has on our relationships and our sense of self. We have chapter 6 and chapter 7 in my book. Chapter 7 is about forgiveness. It's the longest chapter in the book, and it starts with self-forgiveness. So we're going to be talking a lot about that. And all are welcome. People can join us at any point. You don't have to have the book or have read the book to join us. Although if you want to get a copy of the book, that's available. We'll go from there. Anybody want to say anything as we wrap it up?
Just thank you. Huge thank you, Peter. Thank you for bringing Karina. Thank you, Karina, for sharing your story and your life. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So grateful for all of you, and thank you, Peter, for having me. I'm so honored to be part of your community.
Great, thank you.
Yes, a big thank you. I just want to say thank you too. Everybody's thank you, but it was a wonderful experience. So I guess the big word is thank you.
That means a lot, Barbara. Thank you.
I was going to say Karina's podcast is also available on the fitforjoy.org website. So that's basically how I found out about Karina and her work. So if you want to listen, go there. And Karina, you've done some other podcasts.
Yes, 2 other podcasts. You can find them on my website.
Okay, great. All the information's on Karina's website, which is karinahsieh.com. So that's where you can find all things Karina. All right. Anybody else want to say anything? Thank you guys so much for being here. The people who are new, thank you so much for coming out to support us and support Karina. Anybody else?
Just thank you so much. Wonderful. The inspiring lessons. Thank you.
Awesome.
Really appreciate being here.
Music. Yeah.
So this, if you guys want to watch this again or share it with your friends, it should be on my website and on my YouTube channel within about the next 48 hours or so. So if people want to watch it, it'll be available then.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
All right. So everybody remember, be bigger than you think you are today and every day. And I'll see you guys next week. Have a great week.